rock and roll jukebox.
Well, it's 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready. Now go, cat, but don't you step on my blue shoe.
And country girl. All new shows on Spectrum On Air. Visit our website on spectrumonair.com or listen on Mixcloud Live.
Don't forget, you can listen to this radio station on the Get Me Radio platform. Download the Get Me Radio app and listen on your Android or Apple mobile phone, and a whole range of TV apps such as Roku, Fire, Android and Apple TV. You can also listen on Alexa and Google Home devices. Just search for Get Me Radio. Download the apps and listen to this radio station on your favorite devices.
If you love electronic music, then you need to tune in on Saturday evenings at 8 p.m. with me, Suzanne Letting, on Let's Get It On. Each week, I am going to be bringing you brand new releases. So if that kind of music is your cup of tea, then why don't you join me Saturdays at 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. Repeated on Mondays at midnight and 1 a.m. and again on Thursdays 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. So grab that cup of tea, that cup of coffee, or even a glass of wine, and let's get lost in some music together on Let's Get It On the radio station that brings colour to the airwaves, Spectrum On Air.
New smart apps with our advanced ways for viewing. XP TV One. You can now view us on Samsung Galaxy Store, Apple App Store, Google Play, Roku, Samsung Smart TV's App Store, and Apple TV, Huawei, Amazon Fire Stick, and App Store. XP TV One. Tomorrow's TV broadcasting today.
You are listening to Spectrum On Air. The colourful voice of radio.
I'm Barry.
I'm Bob Bluffield.
I'm Alan Mallion. Together we are the Grumpy Old Men.
Every Saturday morning between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. Only on Spectrum On Air. Often controversial, sometimes fun, but never dull. The Grumpy Old Men bring you their slant on world events and current affairs. 8 to 10 Saturday mornings. And a very warm welcome to the show, and a very warm welcome to, of course, our Portuguese correspondent, Chris, who's joining us this morning. But a warning, first of all, this show contains free speech from the presenters, which may cause upset or offend. Well, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
And good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Oh, you did say good morning, that's all right.
I've got to get my lighting right today.
Yeah, I'll have to put you in as the, yeah. Right, okay, now then, we've got an awful lot to get through today, so let's kick off right away with the fact that, the MPs have all been recalled back to Parliament.
Yeah, first time in, I don't know how many years, quite a number of years, isn't it?
The last time was for the Falklands.
Yeah, no, it was after that. It was Afghan. It was when they pulled the troops out of Afghanistan.
Yeah, the last time was the Falklands in 1980.
Well, that's what they said last night.
Well, on GB News.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
The most reliable source of information on the planet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, you know,
No doubt somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, which I'm never wrong, but somebody will correct me when the last time Parliament was recalled. But a bit of a farce, isn't it, really?
Well, should they have been discussing this ages ago? You know, why have they left it till the 11th hour, you know, or beyond?
Well, that's because Rachel was counting the bean counters, wasn't she?
I think it's about the first time I've actually approved the possibility of the nationalisation of the British industry.
Yeah, I tend to agree, yeah. Although the water companies are coming quite close to it, aren't they?
Especially Thames Water, yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you think they will nationalise it?
Yes.
I don't know. Got any
or it'll be a form of nationalisation.
Yeah.
It's going to cost a lot of money to buy it out of the Chinese owners, but at the end of the day, they've got to keep these blast furnaces running.
Well, I think
and the Chinese owners won't buy the materials to keep them running.
I mean, why sell it to the Chinese in the first place?
Well, that's a very good question.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Why are we giving...
There's too much foreign ownership of classic British businesses.
Well, I mean, the Chinese are obviously the ones that put in the right bid for it.
Yeah,
so it wasn't really anything else, but that's the fact that's why they sold it to the Chinese. But
yeah, that's not the point, though, is it? We're selling it to really a potential enemy, aren't we? Not good, when you see how they interfere in every country's affairs. Bad news, isn't it?
Well, I don't know, really.
Don't you?
Well, and I mean, the other questionable point is the fact that why, and we're getting a feedback as well.
Yeah, we are.
Why is if it's cheaper to produce it with electric kilns, why are they going on to coal?
I think it's the fact they can't produce the quality with electric, can they, or something?
No, it's about the amount of time it would take to actually get an electric furnace going. It's going to take a number of years.
Yeah, if they allow the current blast furnaces in Scunthorpe to burn out, there will not be a blast furnace in the UK producing steel.
And when it goes out, you can't relight it. It's not like a Calagas boiler.
No, it's not. So even though it's coal fired, and we all know what coal's like, we need to have some steel making capacity in this country, bearing in mind what on earth is going around the rest of the world.
Absolutely. What's that with Port Talbot? Because is that closed down?
Those blast furnaces have been shut down, and they are going to be building electric blast furnaces.
That's Tartar, isn't it?
But that's why only Scunthorpe is left.
Yeah.
I think it's a
good situation to get into, isn't it? Sorry, Alan?
I just think it's a national emergency and it ought to be sorted. And I also don't think we should be paying heavy duty compensation to the Chinese to take it over. I think we should confiscate the damn thing.
Well, we seem to do this all the time, don't we?
Fight us in court.
There's been a visit by one of the Caribbean island prime ministers to Downing Street this week, which they kept quite quiet because she's after reparation. And, they're wondering now if Starmer's agreeing to this, to pay them millions. They're asking for trillions of pounds, in actual fact.
Well, they will do, won't they?
Yeah, I can't remember which island it is. But, she sort of semi-secretly visited Downing Street, and they weren't discussing it, weren't being open about it. Well, apparently they've issued a press release now, which says absolutely nothing.
Reparations for what?
Slavery.
Oh,
no. Yeah, you nearly said it there, Chris.
That was part of history. Just let sleeping dogs lie. We know it was wrong, but it happened. So, end of.
Yeah, well, who you meant to be paying this to? Because none of these were slaves, were they? Their families may have been. Some of their members of their families were way back. But you can't equate that to today, can you?
Now, there are those that think England's the only country that was ever involved in slavery.
Oh, well, this woman has mentioned apparently France and Spain as well. But they're the amount they want to spend.
And what about Africa? What about Africa?
Still going on.
It's still going on.
Still going on in
the Arab
Middle East.
world, slavery is still going on, and China.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got slave labour, particularly in certain parts of it.
Yeah.
And Birmingham.
But
Birmingham was on strike, Mike.
Oh.
Yeah, strike and slavery are slightly different things. You should run for the Republican Party. Actually, you did quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those misunderstandings of words seem to work very well for them.
Who's that then? Who's the Republican Party?
The Republican Party in America.
Oh, in America. That's another story.
I'm just classic. I've seen the Secretary for Education, and she was being interviewed on the television, and she says, yes, and we're going to introduce A1 into all the primary schools. A1.
What's that?
Artificial.
AI.
Oh, AI. A1. Yeah, I see.
She's calling it A1.
Oh, it's a bit early.
I mean, give me a break.
Bit of dipsticks, aren't they, really?
Why?
Why what?
Well, your children are never too young to start learning.
Yeah, wake up, Mike. Take your pill.
No, I mean, we seem to be flitting around this morning because 1 minute we're talking about blast furnaces, then the next minute we're talking about reparation fees, and now we're talking about America. I mean, this which way is this show going to go? Well, I mean, the poor listener doesn't know whether they're coming or bloody going.
Well, you better get directed in, haven't you?
Yeah, you better get on and give us some direction, Mike. Come on, we'll all follow your lead. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, you follow my lead.
Yeah, I'll follow your lead.
Yeah, get a lead out for GT. I mean, he's about the only one that would pick up the lead and be good with it. The rest of you, I mean, are just, I don't know. There's Chris smiling away there as well. Only because I mentioned GT and the lead. But there we go. Well, anyway, I mean, okay, so we've killed the Parliament, haven't we? You don't want to start talking.
No, I think it's something we're all agreed on, that it's something that needs to be done. Am I right, gentlemen?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, no, I don't. I disagree with you.
Oh, go on, then.
I think that we should talk to Donald about this and see what he's got to say about it.
Yeah, it'd be great.
No, because he'd sort it. He'd make.
Well, he'll say keep it open because he loves coal, doesn't he?
Yeah. It makes it great again.
Beautiful fast.
Beautiful job. You're doing a beautiful job.
Beautiful coal.
He's a great guy.
Beautiful British steel. And I'm only going to put a 25% tariff on British steel.
Yeah.
Isn't he right though?
About what?
I like coal. I mean, I wish we there was a thing that they were going to reopen a coal mine.
They should have done
a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I think they should have done.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think where it was. Where was it? Is it Nottingham? Was it Nottinghamshire? I can't remember now.
I get really frustrated by this binary approach that the Woke Brigade take. It's not either one or the other. We need a mix of technologies in this country. We need air and, wind farms. We need solar because that's really good for some things. We need coal because that's really good for some things. We need gas because that's really good for some things. We need nuclear because that's really good for some things.
I couldn't agree more. But it's not. It's Miliband, isn't it? It's not the woke.
Yeah.
The woke just follow Miliband, and Miliband's an absolute nutter, I think.
It's these either-or people. Oh, well, you can't. You've got to ban this and ban that. And I also think onshore wind farms are like the most sensible thing we could possibly do to do things like charge electric cars when you use the electricity when it's available. You can use surplus electricity for stuff like that.
Yeah, they've got sufficient infrastructure yet, have they?
No, but that's coming. People are putting in their infrastructure.
We're getting solar powered electric car chargers over here.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of anything more sensible.
And we don't have a lot of sun here, though, Chris. Don't forget.
You wouldn't know it for the last 3 months.
We probably had some of this. Probably just had summer. It's the way things go, haven't we?
Well, yesterday couldn't have been nicer. I was at my friend.
Yeah, very hot.
Out on the farm. It was absolutely lovely. The sun was shining. There's new little lambs in the field next door, all running around, jumping, and
good. We're drifting again, aren't we?
It was glorious. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm in a mood.
The thing is, what people forget about solar power is that you don't need the sun shining because it's UV that creates the power, not the sun. I mean, so this business about the sun's got to shine, otherwise my solar panels won't work. It's just old wives' tales. It's like wind farms, wind farms, all right, we don't get as much wind as we would possibly like, but there are things called batteries, storage batteries.
We should be getting an awful lot of wind lately.
Huh?
We should be getting an awful lot of wind lately. Hardly a day goes by when it's not a light breeze. It's so cold you can't sit out in it. We could just blow you away.
Well, so doesn't that just sort of go against the argument of these people that saying, we don't get any wind, don't get enough wind to turn the blades?
Well, the problem is it's all geared, isn't it? But it's all fabricated news. A lot of it, isn't it? It's all exaggerated, isn't it?
Yes, that is.
We're not getting the truth about anything, are we? These days, we talked about this yesterday, didn't we? That when do you know you're being told the truth anymore? As Terry said, you've got to look at different sources and then make your own mind up. That's the only way you can do it, really.
Well, I've taken to doing that. When I hear a story that's coming out as a big story, particularly anything to do with Trump, I go to 3 or 4 different sources. I'll go and look at Fox News. Then I'll go.
That's the biggest lie under the sun, isn't it?
They just make it up. It's like a children's program.
Yeah, I can't get out.
It's a children's program for adults. Oh, and by the way, just as a matter of, I've got the Houses of Parliament in the background there. It was the death of Queen Elizabeth II that was the last time they sat on a Saturday.
Did they?
Yeah, which was September 22.
Really?
Why did they?
The most recent occasion was September the 10th, 2022, to allow members to pay tribute to the Queen Elizabeth, who had died 2 days earlier.
I don't think that counts, though, does it? It wasn't to discuss business.
That's not a recall of Parliament.
The previous one is on October the 19th, 2019, for MPs to discuss the terms of the government's latest deal to leave the European Union.
Well, so the BBC are wrong, and
that's not surprising, is it?
That's Terry's right. The only thing that would benefit the climate would be if humans stopped breathing.
Well, that's true. Well, and cows, don't forget.
But
we've got to stop cows from farting, haven't we? This is one of the main causes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, cow farts are ruining our planet.
Yeah.
I mean, they're causing erosion on the East Coast.
Well, actually, it's again, I'm so intrigued by this. The lot of the rubbish that comes out.
It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. That one.
Because it's not so much what the cows produce it from both ends, and in fact, it is worse from the front end when they burp, because they've got 5 stomachs, and as they're chewing the
three stomachs, aren't they? 3, isn't it?
As they're chewing the cud, they burp, and that is far more lethal than than what comes out of the back end.
Yeah, you could set the light, couldn't you?
And this is why cows are now being fed food that doesn't make them burp, which is what we could be doing with, really. It's make the civilization a lot better. We didn't sit around burping all the time and that, So, and how did you get on at your quiz match, Chris? Did you lose?
Quiz match, Chris.
We were last out of 5, but there was a final Who Am I that the quizmaster decided to put in. And we got it on the first question. So we ended up coming joint first.
Oh.
But we lost out on the tie-break.
Oh, well, there you go.
We came second.
Yeah.
Who was it? Who was it, Chris?
Sid James.
Oh, really?
Sid James.
South Africa.
Yeah.
At any rate, moving swiftly on.
Correct.
At 19 minutes past 8 o'clock. The world the financial world has been in turmoil this week, hasn't it? Because one minute Trump's saying this, the next minute he's backtracking, and then he's giving 90 days grace, and then what is the man doing? Chris, I mean, you're our financial wizard here, You've got a very...
is certifiable, in my opinion.
Is what?
Certifiable.
He's certifiable.
Yeah. But is he not making a lot of money out of this? Is he not doing... is it not
I think we're seeing insider trading in plain view at the moment.
Yeah, indeed.
I really do, because I think people have made so much money out of this. And at the expense of others. I mean, the pound against the euro in 2 weeks has gone from 120 to 115, it was 115 yesterday.
Yeah.
Which has devalued my pension by about 5%. So Mr. Trump is not on my Christmas card list.
Where's this all going to win? I mean, he could totally ruin the economies, particularly some of these
I think he's going to ruin the economy in America, let alone everywhere else.
He's becoming incredibly unpopular all of a sudden, isn't he?
Yeah.
In his own country.
Watching Fox News again, as I did, there was one presenter saying to members of the public, look, an iPhone that cost $1,000 is now going to cost $2,000 as a result of Trump. And they're going, they're making it more expensive for us to buy them. We're going, yes, but that is not China making it more expensive. That's Trump making it more expensive. They haven't got that in their head.
They don't get it. They just don't get it. Because we could theoretically still buy the iPhone over here in Europe by bypassing America.
Yeah.
So if it gets shipped out of China straight into Europe, we would end up buying iPhones for half the price the Americans are going to have to because of their 145% tariff, which is absolutely crackers.
Well, isn't that why they've got all these penguin islands now? Because they're going to become major exporters of iPhones. With only a 10% tariff, so
well, that's a possibility. That's
that's set up a new business.
A way of diverting things.
We could invest in a penguin island, right? Set it up as a trading centre. It could become the new Singapore.
Yeah, could be right there. However, listen, the good news is that President Donald has had his first medical since he took over, and he's come through with flying colours, really. And even the cognitive tests, he's answered all the questions right.
Yeah.
But he probably had the answer in advance.
Huh?
What is your name?
Yeah. I can't remember. He's been pre-warned about the questions, hasn't he? No doubt.
Of course he has.
Yeah, and he's got TJ Vance in there, giving him like tips on how to answer them.
Well, he doesn't need it, does he? Because when the old medical profession is sitting there and they're going, right, okay, well we'll start the cognitive tests now. What's your name? So he looks at JD Vance, and JD Vance says Donald Trump. So he goes, oh yeah, Donald Trump. See, he's got it all there worked out with JD.
Yeah.
I don't think he had any choice but to roll back on this tariff thing as a result of being so exposed on the mathematics that, he's bored that he held up with this thing and it was going to be X tariffs on 60% tariffs on one country and 45% on another. And it said it's all worked out mathematically. And the mathematics that he used, I'm no mathematical genius, but it's like adding, well, I'm going to add my kettle and my washing machine together, to make a fridge. It made no sense whatsoever mathematically. The equation was just lunacy. And when he came out with the explanation, they wrote this thing out in a sort of an algebraic way. And then they put all this mumbo jumbo at the bottom, which is X equals X equals X. It made no sense whatsoever. It all cancelled itself out.
Mr. Malian, I think you're missing a very, very salient point here.
Yes, Michael, I am.
That is the fact that Donald Trump did this purely and simply so that he and others could make an awful lot of money. Because the thing is, as soon as he declared all of this, share prices dropped through the floor and remained there. And they bought all the shares up. And then he said, oh, no, well, I'll give him a 90-day grace, and the shares went back up again. Well, I bet they sold them again, Yeah. I bet those millionaires. I mean, we talk about the oligarchs, the Russian oligarchs, but I think that the German millionaires probably put the Russian oligarchs to shame, and especially what they've done over Mr. Trump's playing around with the financial markets.
Do you think this will be Trump's next indictment?
Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah,
insider trading.
Yeah,
it is.
Mind you, I think most trading's insider trading anyway, because, everybody works on tips and ideas and, what's going on and intelligence reports from, so insider trading is really prevalent, I think, throughout the entire market. I don't know, Chris, what do you think?
I would agree with that, which is why the shares that I possess, I just keep them there, and whatever the market does, they go down, they go up. While I don't need to sell them, I'm not going to sell them.
Yeah, well, it's a natural beast, isn't it?
You know, it's my little savings scheme, that. And I just, I've got them, sit on them, and I'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not going to go into buying and selling because, knowing my luck, I'll just go and screw up completely. So,
yeah.
As I have done in the past. So.
But there's another issue here, though. Isn't it? Do you not think that part of this business by Trump is to deflect from the war in Ukraine, you know, because he hasn't settled that as he promised to do? Yeah, what's happening there, you know?
Well, it's all gone very quiet, and so's Israel gone very quiet as well.
Hasn't it just?
Yeah. All his verboseness about I will sort it out in 24 hours, and I'll build a luxury apartments all along the coast, and all his rhetoric has all turned to nothing.
Exactly.
Absolutely nothing. Load of hot air.
But that's only because he's taken on too much. You know, I mean, he's trying to buy Greenland. He's trying to control the Panama Canal. He's trying to end the war in Ukraine.
He's signed over the Chagos Islands.
Yeah, signed over the Chagos Islands. He's now talking about using probable military action against Iran. You know, nice little guy, isn't he? Hey?
Friendly.
Yeah.
He's like a little kid that's just joined the nursery and wants to play with all the toys.
Well, that's exactly what he is. But then Starmer's much the same, isn't he? Don't you think?
No, I think Starmer's he's rock solid. He's a good guy.
Oh yeah.
What
are you on this morning, Alan?
He's the best Prime Minister we've had this week.
Well, I wouldn't say that. Yeah, he's they're going to do this, they're going to do that, and at the end of the day, they do nothing, do they? I mean, they're coming up with all these figures, aren't they? Oh, we deported so many thousand people. Well, where's the proof of this? You know, we did see a few people getting on a plane at one time. We see nothing to substantiate that. It's the same with making all these NHS appointments available. You know, tell people that who are still on the waiting list and see how that bears up.
Well, I wonder how many more illegal immigrants Trump has deported after the original ones on their big Hercules. I haven't heard much about that recently.
No, you haven't.
No, well, because he's been told by the federal courts that he's not allowed to. But they're still arresting people like it's going out of fashion. I was watching a report last night where a couple of people were arrested. They were citizens, but the situation is, if the people think that you may in the future criticise something to do with the Trump administration, that is enough to have you arrested.
Yeah.
If they think that you may in the future think about saying something.
Well,
I bet you that if I ever apply to go to America, get one of these ESTAs to get your sort of temporary visitor's visa, or however it works these days, I bet you I'll get refused because I'm sure they'll check my social media and say, whoops, we don't want this boy in America.
You don't say much on social media, do you?
Well, I say enough.
Oh, it does.
They'll pick up on it.
He does. I mean, he clicks on my Wordle when he beats me every day, you know. I mean, Trump wouldn't let him in on those grounds, you know. The fact he beat Mike Barry on the Wordle every day, you know. So it's most upsetting as well.
You're often better than me.
Not very often. I am sometimes. Yes, that's right. Big pat on the shoulders. Yes, that's right. Terry,
just for the record, I got it on the fourth line today, so see how you get on.
Oh, did you? Oh, yeah. All right. I'll have a go at that then. It's Starmer and Macron, les mystères de l'amour. You know, this Terry, he never fails to amaze me. Actually,
couple of lovers, eh?
Yeah, he lives in Germany. He's an Englishman. He speaks fluent German. Obviously now speaks fluent French, and his English isn't bad either. You know, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway. Talking about the police, which we weren't, but now the government is going to give all this money for, you know, we're going to have 1,000 extra policemen, you know, and guess what? They're going to be plastic policemen.
Yeah.
People masquerading as policemen with no powers whatsoever. When on earth is the government going to and society going to take face? You know, that these people who are dressed up as bobbies on the beat, you know, they're not. The boys and girls who dress up as policemen and wander around with no power whatsoever. I got more power than they've got.
Well, some years ago, you would have got arrested for that, wouldn't you? Because you're impersonating a police officer.
Oh, exactly. And I mean, I don't know why this doesn't happen.
Ugh.
In fact,
our sister was our late sister was a PCSO in London.
Really?
And you are quite correct. They have absolutely no power whatsoever.
Yeah. And do they think the public doesn't know this?
Well,
yes.
They know the public know. You know, she wasn't able to arrest anybody. She could, if someone needed it was just a visual thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is not much point in, is there, really?
I think
not when you got people running around with knives, it's not.
Well, now they're cutting 1,700 frontline officers, aren't they, in London? You know, what on earth is Khan playing at?
Well, they're probably
turn it into Londonistan, doesn't he?
I know Mike's got it in for PCSOs, but I think they provide a valuable resource. They're a lot cheaper.
They provide a resource, but they have no power. They have no power of arrest.
Yeah, but we don't want them to have power of arrest. That's not what they're...
Well, I think we do. Why don't we, Anna? Why don't we want them to have the power of arrest? What's the point otherwise?
Well, otherwise they'd be police, wouldn't they?
Well, why can't they give them the power of arrest?
Isn't that what we need?
Specials got the powers of arrest, haven't they?
They can have 2 PCSOs for every one real copper. And what we need is feet on the ground. And they're like security guards, really. It's much
can they go around knocking on people's doors then for non-hate crimes? Can they do that?
Yeah.
No. They can't even do that. They can't even knock on people's doors. You post it on social media.
They can do inquiries. They can make inquiries. They can knock on your door and say, did you park your car there? Did you do this? Did you do that? And then they can report it. And if they need to, they can bring in a policeman. They can go, get to
a couple of years ago, we had a couple come around here. They were knocking on all the doors to introduce themselves, sort of thing, and to see if anybody got any problems. And they were an absolute waste of time.
It is an absolute waste of time. And I'm getting very frustrated now with the fact that the local authorities and the national authorities can't see this. You know, I think they're thinking that, put all these people wandering around that look like policemen, and that'll cause everybody to be feel safer. You know,
I suppose if they positioned themselves outside supermarkets when some of these school kids, these scrotes, come in and start shoplifting, that might perhaps deter a few school kids. Perhaps, I don't know.
It wouldn't, because the school kids are probably more aware than we are that these people haven't got any powers whatsoever, you know.
Yes, very true.
And I mean, again, it's the business of, I think somebody said the other day about why don't the co-ops and all these things that are getting all these shoplifting problems have the security guards inside the shops, but it's, the law is very straightforward. If you are inside the premises, it is only when you leave the premises having not paid for the goods that you can be charged for shoplifting. So that means that they have got to arrest or stop the person outside of the premises.
And then they get done for assault.
Because that's exactly it. If you're inside the premises, you can still say, oh, no, I wasn't. I was going to walk out the door, but I suddenly realised that I hadn't paid for it.
I've forgotten.
So I'm going to go and pay for it, and there's nothing you can do about it, So, Terry's saying when I was young, the sight of one bobby and his whistle was a deterrent enough. Exactly, Terry, because in those days when we were young, the coppers would get hold of us and give us a flick round the ear,
Yeah, they weren't school kids either, were they? They were proper coppers. They were, seasoned blokes, weren't they?
I can remember my local copper when I was a kid, Mr. Cracknell, his name was.
Cracknell.
And he was called Mr. Cracknell.
Yeah,
exactly.
And everybody knew him, and everybody knew you didn't mess with him.
Yeah,
exactly right.
And the thing is, they knew their beat because they didn't flip around in cars and all this sort of thing, and move from one area to another. They lived on the beat. They knew every which way. If Bertie hadn't turned up till 4 o'clock in the morning, they knew all about it, and they'd go around and feel his collar, and that was it. And the Crims knew this as well,
Yeah.
But what have we got nowadays? We've got. I mean,
we got. They come out of university, don't they, with no experience whatsoever, and they put in CID or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, they've given the rank of superintendent of that, you know.
And this is why it's all going wrong, isn't it? Because they got, for one thing, a lot of them are wokes, aren't they? Now, if they come out of university, got to be, haven't they?
Yeah.
So they're following the woke line and arresting people for no point.
I mean, there's a case that was on the news this morning about a lady that spent 7 hours in a cell.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was arrested for confiscating her daughter's iPads.
Yeah. Where was this?
Reading or somewhere, wasn't it?
Thames Valley Police.
I don't know exactly, but I think we can find out in a moment. But
you got to take West Yorkshire Police for an example. You know what they're now doing is, you know, it's reverse racism, isn't it? They will only consider ethnic groups to become coppers. Now, West Yorkshire Police. I'll say West Midlands. West Yorkshire Police have got one of the worst crime-solving results. They've only solved, would you believe, 5% of reported crimes in the last financial year, whatever they base it on. I mean, it's a nonsense, isn't it? And they're also the same police force that, do you remember they arrested an autistic girl because she said to this WPC, "You look like my lesbian granny."
Yeah.
That was West Yorkshire Police.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you see the video of that from the body cams. You know, this WPC was most offended, but she did look like what she was described as.
Yeah. And yet you'll find that the chief constable of that particular police force will probably get a knighthood, you know.
Yeah, well, they've also spent the most on diversity officers, of which they have, I believe, 19, at a cost of £1,400,000 a year.
Yeah.
Well, you can guarantee Mr. Trump will get rid of them, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, should we be getting rid of these? Oh, look how much it's costing the NHS to have diversity officers.
Oh, I know.
Didn't the NHS, wasn't it diverse from the beginning? You know, 20 years ago it was diverse, but nobody had any problems with it. It's creating the diversion.
Well, the word diversity hadn't been invented then, had it?
No.
You know, let's face it. I don't know.
But it's creating the problems, isn't it? Don't you think?
No.
It's bringing the problems between races to the fore.
No, I think wokeism should come in. I think we should have more wokeism.
You're being provocative there, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I'm not being provocative at all. I think that, you know, it's about time we, you know, if you ever want to argue with somebody, the best way to argue with somebody is to agree with them.
No, it's not.
What?
No, it's not.
Oh, yes, it is.
You're right, Mike. You're right. You're definitely right.
You cancel them, don't you?
The thing, well, you can't have an argument if both people agree, you know. But the thing is, we could get rid of wokeism with a stroke of a brush.
Oh, yeah.
By just suddenly agreeing with them. Yeah. Saying, hey, yeah, this is a great idea. Let's all be wokes, you know.
Should you be using that in your household?
Yeah.
Using that non-argument.
It works.
Non-argument, isn't it? See? It's all gone silent.
It has gone silent, hasn't it? Everybody knows everybody's right.
Well, no, everybody can't be right. Because
I agree with you, Mike.
No, you're arguing, Mike.
You're clearly correct. I mean, as in most things, I mean, if you really want to know the meaning of life, why we're on this planet, and the future of everything to do with human evolution, just ask Mike Barry.
Indeed, absolutely right.
Wonderful knowledge.
I couldn't agree more.
But sticking with the police, you know, the police are now going to employ an anti-social behaviour officer in every force.
What's that meant to be then? What do they do?
Well, they look after antisocial behaviour and they investigate it.
Really?
I mean,
they police investigate?
There's too much antisocial behaviour going on in the world.
Since when? Since when are the police going to investigate anything?
Well, let me have a look. I shall tell you.
No, they did. It was a couple of weeks ago when they arrested that woman for stealing the iPads and locked her up. That was part of an investigation as a result of a complaint received by the police from a 40-year-old man. So yeah.
Well, how did they know?
Well, because this guy complained.
Yeah, but how did he know that she confiscated her kids' iPads?
Because they had a tracking device on them, and the police tracked them to the mother's house.
Yeah, and the trouble was the kids reported their mother to the police.
Well, it wasn't the kids, actually. It was a 40-year-old man.
Well, who was he?
I don't know. I'm not looking at it anymore.
This antisocial behaviour, all right, these guys are going to work with locals and businesses on action plans to stop yobs and criminals in their tracks while making communities safer. Have you ever heard such a load of old codswallop in all your life?
Hang on a minute. Is this a bit like smashing the gangs?
Yeah.
Is that the same sort of issue?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. The announcement comes amid efforts to boost neighbourhood officers by 13,000 by 2029 to turn the tide of rising criminality. I mean, it makes my blood boil.
You've got to ask where these people come from, haven't you? I mean, who thinks these things up?
Well, I think it's a wonderful idea that we have responsible police officers who've been specially trained in being nice to people that have got antisocial behaviour issues. And when they see a shoplifter, they can stand outside the shop and say, look, excuse me, do you realise that actually shoplifting is antisocial?
Is it?
Yeah. And that is going to solve all our problems.
Yeah. What about the cock up during the week when the 5 police officers ended up in hospital after this multi-police car pile up on the A1?
Yes.
I don't know the story behind that. What was the story behind it then?
I saw a picture, but I didn't read the story.
They were trying to...
It's a non-story because it didn't really tell you what happened. But I think they were trying to do the boxing technique, was it, Mike?
It's the boxing technique, yeah. It's called T-Pack.
Yeah.
4 police cars will box in the car that they want to stop, who's refused to stop, so they box them in.
So where did it all go wrong then?
Well, I don't know, obviously.
Because they were going too fast or something to do it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it was in the early hours of the morning, and I dare say that as they were slowing down, because they box them in and then slow down.
Yeah.
And I think probably the bloke must have flipped one of the police cars and spun it or whatever. I don't know because I wasn't there. But
I presume that the A1's probably still shut as a crime scene, isn't it?
No, it's open. It's been
open, is it? All right.
Yeah.
It's closed for 24 hours or so, wasn't it?
Well, the police have got to wander around and take photographs and all that sort of thing, So
you won't get that over. You won't get that happen over here.
No, we don't see.
Get an accident, get it cleared, get it opened. That's their rule over here.
Well, it's the same all across Europe, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it said if somebody loses a light bulb, you get a 2-week closure on a B road.
Yeah, because it's a crime scene.
Yeah, terrible. I'm looking at these officers, and one of the things they've been employed for is they're going to advise neighbours on antisocial behaviour and how to complain about it, and what is actually defining to neighbourhoods what an antisocial behaviour is.
Yeah, well, you probably had the same. I've had about 5 emails this week from Thames Valley Police about this anti-crime roadshow they're doing.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't even bothered to read them, to be honest, because I think it's a total waste of time.
No.
What people want to see is police not talking about it, but acting on it.
But they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. If they don't do something about it, they're damned. And if they do something about it, they're damned.
Well, it's because they don't do anything about it.
Well, they're trying to do something about it, aren't they? They're employing...
By talking about it.
They're employing all these officers to go around and talk to communities about antisocial behaviour.
People think the communities know about it, don't they?
Do you remember? Can you cast your mind back? Can you cast your mind back a few years ago when the local co-ops and that sort of thing played Beethoven and Mozart music outside the stores because the youngsters wouldn't congregate then because they couldn't stand it. But then it was deemed against their human rights. Yeah.
But they also had that sonic thing, didn't they, that only youngsters could hear, apparently.
Yes, yeah.
And that was the same, wasn't it? A sort of silent sonic thing that picked up on young ears or something. I don't know.
I've got one of those to deter dogs when they come attacking me in GT.
Have you? What distance does it work over?
about 5 yards.
You know, to trouble. I've got one. It's a waste of time to try and stop the barking dogs in my neighbour's house.
They actually call them dog trainers to try and stop.
Yeah.
You use them to stop your own dog barking, but I use them as a defence. I use it as a defence mechanism.
We got
because there are a lot of stray dogs around here, so you need to sort of get rid of them somehow.
Yeah, does it work?
It works with the smaller dogs. The bigger dogs tend to be able to manage the very high-pitched noise that's going into their ears that we as humans can't hear.
Yeah,
they laugh at it. They laugh at it, don't they?
They laugh at it. Yeah. Laugh at the hyenas. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we got round there. We got somebody walking. These girls for about 2 or 3 years now have been walking this thing. I had a vest on that said "anxious dog walker," but this thing's got no better. Sometimes it's muzzles and sometimes it's not. But as soon as you walk it, don't come near it. It'll go for you. Well, bloody well, put a muzzle on it. I don't know where these people come from. I don't know where they live. But you see this dog goes past it. They bring it into our courtyard. It's sniffing around the cars, to try and get it used to cars. This is just sort of nonsense because this thing has not improved in the time they've had it.
What they need is a proper dog trainer.
Yeah. Well,
someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, well, they got the vests and all that with the wording on, but I don't know. I looked it up because I thought it was perhaps it was some association, but it isn't. There's nothing online about it.
I think we talked about this last week, actually, but this anti-abortion campaigner, she's been convicted of what they call a buffer breach.
Yeah.
And she's been fined £20,000, or she's been ordered to pay £20,000 costs.
Isn't that ludicrous?
At Portugal Magistrates Court.
Oh, it is ludicrous.
It is absolutely not ludicrous. I think it's absolutely right.
Why?
Well, because she's trying to impose her ideas on other people. And
she's not. She's just got signs and invited people to talk to her. She wasn't saying anything.
She's an anti-abortion campainer.
Well,
it was doing a protest.
She wasn't doing a protest. She was standing there with signs and said if people wanted to speak to her, she was open to speak to them. She wasn't forcing herself on anybody.
Yeah, but she was doing it within an agreed area. It was said that you can't do it in a certain radius of the abortion.
Yeah. Well, I
because
know
that's regarded as intimidation, and she deliberately broke the law. She should be fined £1,000 for every minute she was there.
Oh, that's crap, Alan. And you know
no, it's not.
It is.
And he does
I slap on the wrist. Who impose their ideas on other people.
Why don't they do it to Greenpeace and people like that? Then
I think they should.
Yeah, but £20,000—that's outrageous.
No,
it's outrageous, isn't it?
The punishment does not fit the crime, Alan, and you know it.
No. What doesn't fit the crime is some old bird that's got her own imagination ideas about life and God and all that sort of rubbish.
Well, no, that's discrimination.
Some poor girl that wants to get an abortion.
That's her prerogative.
That's her prerogative. If she's got her own views, that's her opinion.
Do it in a space that doesn't intimidate somebody.
All she said was a placard which says, "Here to talk if you want."
Yeah.
Not abortion is wrong, or it's killing children, and
she is an anti-abortionist. So
who has been intimidated by it? I don't think anybody has, have they?
If I was a young girl who was desperate to get an abortion for whatever reason, I'd been interfered with by my father or something, and I wanted to get an abortion, and I got some old bird telling me it's not against.
No, but she's not telling you, is she? This is the whole point.
Yes,
she's saying, "Come and talk to me about it."
This is the issue. She's not saying it. She's got a sign that says it. People ignored her.
Yeah. And the other thing is as well, I mean, this is 150 metre, or let's call it yards because that's proper.
We understand that. Well,
150 yards buffer zone.
Yeah.
I mean, 150, we used to have to run the 100 metres at school, at 100 yards at school, I mean, there's nothing. If you want to put a buffer zone in,
but
what about the Palestinian protesters then that are hanging around synagogues?
Yeah, they should be arrested.
Yeah, but they're not, are they? Why don't you give them?
No, I know we got a two-tier law system.
We've got more than that.
Well, maybe. And I think the Palestinian protesters that hang outside synagogues should be arrested for intimidation. But the law is very specific. It says there is an exclusion zone to stop this intimidation. And this woman knew she was breaking the law and deliberately broke the law to intimidate people, even if it only says...
No, I disagree. I don't think she was intimidating anybody.
Well, we're all entitled to our opinion. And my opinion is it's an intimidating act.
Well, did anybody actually come forward and say they were being intimidated by her?
No.
Or was it just the fact that she's merely standing within the zone? Huh?
How do you know that?
I don't know what.
How do you know nobody came forward and said...
I didn't say that, Alan. You're not listening.
Okay.
I said, did anybody come forward?
Oh, not that I'm aware of.
Well, there you are then.
Yeah, I don't actually know this story, but if there is a buffer zone in which someone is not supposed to be, then they shouldn't be there.
Quite right. Quite right. But £20,000, Chris.
Well, I can't comment on that because I don't know the story.
Well, it's to put people off, isn't it?
Mm.
It's like, and it's not the fine; it's the legal costs.
Yeah, well, it doesn't.
But what this woman's game was to get publicity and to create a court case by deliberately breaking the law, and it backfired on her. It cost her a lot of money to do it.
Well, yeah,
I've got no problems with that whatsoever.
It'll probably be crowdfunded,
and actually, I don't have a problem with that either. If there are court costs involved, then they should be recovered.
Hang on a minute. Hang on. Why? Where's human rights gone? That woman has got human rights. Yeah. Just because a local authority puts up 150-metre zone.
I mean, what right have they got to do that?
Exactly. And why, I totally agree that with your arguments that, yes, if she'd have got placards there and balloons and badges saying, abortion is wrong, it's murder, blah, blah, blah. But to have an innocuous sign saying, here to talk if you want. I mean, the majority of people would probably ignore that, but there's nothing antisocial about that. There's nothing racist about that. There's nothing anti-abortion about that. It's just here to talk if you want.
Well, it's like the ones that have been arrested for silent prayer because the police anticipated what she was thinking.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, what on earth?
They're doing it inside the exclusion zone. They can do it outside the exclusion zone. They can go down to the local train station and say, I'm against abortion. They're perfectly entitled to do that. But they have got a specific place which is supposed to be a place of safety for somebody who's in a distressed state, where they
I don't necessarily think they're all in a distressed state, Alan.
Right, and also the other question.
Have you ever had an abortion?
A technical question.
I've understood from the people that have, it's a very emotional thing.
A technical question here. Where does the 150 metres start? Is it at the middle of the building, or is it at the one of
at the front door by the letterbox?
Well, is it?
Start here. Come on, Mike. Stop being so silly.
No, I'm not being silly. I'm being pedantic.
You're not being silly.
Because the thing is, I mean...
she could have been 2 feet outside the zone, couldn't she?
She could have been 151 metres away from it.
Yeah.
And in fact, it makes a mockery of the whole system because...
You're making a mockery of the whole system.
Of course it is. Don't be stupid. Come on, have a little bit of common sense, Alan.
I've got loads of common sense. You're the one that's lacking common sense. Where does 150 metres start from? It starts from the front of the building, of course.
What?
It starts from the front.
Yeah, well, never mind that. There's real criminals that are not...
Yeah, there's real criminals.
Whatsoever.
Take the same attitude to shoplifters, and I'd have a bit of sympathy with you.
Well, there you go.
Well, we don't want to have real criminals arrested or anything because that's not good enough.
No, you'd end
up putting them in prison, wouldn't you?
You've got to be put in prison. They're letting out dangerous criminals, people that are going to offend again, just so they can make space for people that made silly comments on social media.
Oh, that's a whole different ballgame. I've got there are no limits on social media in terms of what you can make. If somebody wants to go on social media and say anything they like about abortion, they're most welcome to. And if they say, you can talk to me, they're most welcome to.
I love the story in one of the Nationals about a gang who troubled the country, stealing 857 trolleys of supermarket goods worth £130,000.
Oh, yeah.
And they handed themselves in after a police officer sent them an ultimatum. For 2 years, apparently, these 6 criminals toured Tesco stores from Suffolk to Somerset, Surrey and Cornwall, leaving with 10 full trolleys each time. But apparently some local policeman decided that he would have a look at the photographs of these people and all the rest of it and see who they were. And he did a lot of investigation in his own time. He spent a marathon 17-hour shift interviewing them after they'd handed themselves in, because he actually wrote to them and said, right, look, we know who you are, hand yourselves in, otherwise we're going to come and arrest you.
I was surprised he hasn't been fired for that.
So, Bob is actually right there. The guy should be promoted. He should be made a chief constable right now, because he's obviously got a little bit of common sense. But
I wonder what some of these chief constables have got. I don't think they've got anything between their brains. But then a mate of mine used to say, he said, when they get hindered, he said, they removed their brains. And I think there's an element of truth in that.
But we've now got this other entity that is involved with them, the Police and Crimes Commissioner.
Yeah.
And these guys are paid 150 grand a year.
Yeah.
And they get to wear a funny hat.
No, I don't think they do, actually.
No, that's Trump, Alan.
They wear civilian clothes. They don't even have badges of rank.
They send you a monthly newsletter.
But they are all powerful. Although, funny enough, saying that, I'm going to meet the Police and Crime Commissioner for Thames Valley a couple of weeks' time.
I've got to say, he seems all right.
Does he?
Well, from what
you can tell him that having
I've read of his stuff
is a waste of time, can't you?
What?
Tell him to employ police officers, not PCSOs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean in Mike?
Listen, I want to come home after the presentation. I don't want to end up with 7 hours in.
No, he's got no powers of arrest.
No, he hasn't, but he's only got to turn to the chief constable and say, I want that man arrested.
Yeah, why would he do that, though? Why are you meeting him, Mike?
Well, because the charity that I'm a trustee for has been given a grant from the Thames Valley Police and Crime Commissioners. And I'm going to receive.
Should I be spending that on police?
I was thinking exactly the same thing you just said, Bob.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask where it's money laundering and that, but that's, I suppose, another question which will remain to be seen here on the Grumpies On Spec. I'll let you know. Well, if I don't turn up on a Saturday morning, because it's on a Friday in 2 or 3 weeks' time, So,
but still on the subject of police, I mean, you got to feel sorry for them a little bit sometimes, because there are amongst these clowns, there are a lot of very good police officers, but their hands are tied, aren't they, so to speak? Like this police officer that investigated the rape gangs in, I think it was in Rotherham, was it? Was it in Rotherham? It was in Bradford.
I think we'll talk about that in the second hour of this morning's programme, because I think it needs quite a lot of discussion there, really. And in the second hour of this morning's programme, because we're going to take a short break for you in a moment, but we'll be looking at how struggling pubs face an £180 million tax bomb sheet. We'll talk about the bin strikes as well in Birmingham, with the councillors getting a load of freebies and things like that.
Where's your bin, man?
We got loads to talk about in the second hour of this morning's programme, so I hope you'll stay tuned to Spectrum on Air, the colourful voice of radio, all right? Go away and make yourself a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, or have a little bit of a break, but stay tuned, because we'll be back.
Hello, I'm Mike Barry, and every weekday morning between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, I'm joined by my cock called Ken, his girlfriend Canetta, a very young cock called Clive, and Barney the puppy dog. Well, we bring you an hour of madness and some good music. So why not join me for breakfast on Spectrum on Air, the colourful voice of radio.
Hi, why don't you join me, Joe Caldwell, on the Real Room Radio Show, Fridays at 8 p.m, here on Spectrum on Air. I play fantastic news releases from a wealth of undiscovered talent, and I'll even be interviewing 1 or 2 of them to learn more about them and what makes them tick. So join me, Joe, on the Real Room Radio.
You are listening to Spectrum on Air, the colourful voice of radio.
All new shows to listen to on Spectrum On Air. Reggae.
Ooh, yeah.
Rock and roll jukebox.
Well, it's 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready. Now go cat, go, but don't you step on my blue shoe.
And country go. All new shows on Spectrum On Air. Visit our website on spectrumonair.com or listen on Mixcloud Live.
Don't forget, you can listen to this radio station on the Get Me Radio platform. Download the Get Me Radio app and listen on your Android or Apple mobile phone, and a whole range of TV apps such as Roku, Fire, Android and Apple TV. You can also listen on Alexa and Google Home devices. Just search for Get Me Radio. Download the apps and listen to this radio station on your favorite devices.
Why not come with me, Tony Ingledown, on a journey in my time tunnel? Broadcast every Monday between 2 and 3 p.m. on Spectrum On Air. I'll be taking a trip down memory lane, playing music from the late 60s through to the 80s. Indulge yourself in some nostalgia and let us go back in time together. That's Tony's Time Tunnel every Monday between 2 and 3 p.m. on Spectrum On Air, the colourful voice of radio. I hope that's a date. Don't be late.
Having trouble advertising your act? Need more exposure without breaking the bank? Here at CJC Promotions, we believe that teamwork, bonding and having fun go hand in hand with promoting your work. We believe in artists getting the exposure they deserve without experiencing the stressful side of social media and advertising. With contacts worldwide covering a multidisciplined media environment, we can target your talent so you gain the experience without the consequence of wasted time in unproductive ventures. So, if you are serious about getting your talent out there, just contact Catherine at cjcpromotions.co.uk. That's Catherine at cjcpromotions.co.uk. And remember, our aim is to nurture your talent, not exploit it.
You are listening to Spectrum On Air, the colourful voice of radio.
I'm Barry. I'm Bob Bluffield. I'm Alan Mallion. Together we are the Grumpy Old Men. Every Saturday morning between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock, only on Spectrum On Air. Often controversial, sometimes fun, but never dull. The Grumpy Old Men bring you their slant on world events and current affairs. 8 to 10 Saturday mornings. Yes, of course we do. We bring you the thing every Saturday morning, and well, I'm chopping my bits and pieces all over the floor here in the studio, which is not very good, is it? But there you go. We'll come back and join you. Welcome back to the second hour of this morning's programme here on the Spectrum On Air, the colourful voice of radio. And as I always say at the top of the show, the fact is that there's a warning to you because the show contains free speech from the presenters, which may upset or offend. So there we go. That's got that bit out of the way. Now, what are we going to... Sorry?
Upsets and offends me.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't upset Alan, obviously, because he's sitting in there in Trump's room, you know. And as I always say, one of these days, Trump's going to come in and see him. Now, and since when did the UK become a tinder-dry fire hazard on a par with Hollywood Hills? Well, this week, apparently, because they've got...
funny, that, isn't it?
They've got fire warnings out in Scotland and that, you know. Were you amazed to read that a wildfire warning is in place across the country because of the recent sunny spell? Wildfires after a miserable winter and just a few days of spring sunshine? Well, yes, March apparently was unusually dry. but so dry that Londoners were urged to eschew barbecue this weekend. The Met Office said barbies in open places or on balconies are a no-no. With strong winds and ongoing dry, warm weather, this brings a continued likelihood for wildfire conditions, in terms of Met Office spokesman. We can't be specific on locations, though, because it's only the Met Office, isn't it? London last had wildfires during 2022's summer heat wave. The key phrase is summer heat wave. We've not even got to Easter yet. Mind you, Easter is, of course, a couple of weeks away, so.
That's next week, isn't it?
That means the fire warnings are out in the UK long before they're out in Portugal.
Yes.
Because Portugal is still very, very wet. And we have more rain forecast this week.
It's global warming, Europe, isn't it?
Global warming at its best.
Yeah.
I bet you find
it's all something to do with the jet stream, which is far more south than than normal. And it's actually the Iberian Peninsula and Morocco have been catching it all, believe it or not.
I bet you
find and the Azores and the Canaries and the all the places that you expect to be nice and warm.
I bet you find it quite fascinating, don't you, Chris, to go up to the these reservoirs and that and watch them filling up with water.
I think it's brilliant. Yeah. Because I'm now seeing them at the levels that I saw them when I first started coming here in 2008.
Yeah. And that was pretty low, was it, or high?
No, they were high in 2008.
Yeah.
And they've been dropping ever since. And now they're coming back up to where they were in 2008. Apart from that one I went to see this week, which is still incredibly low.
Yeah. Do they? I mean, are the reservoirs in Portugal? I mean, are they sort of attractions, tourist attractions as well, or are they just sort of there?
No, they're not necessarily tourist attractions, but they do. They all have motorhome parks around them where you can wild camp. They're not organised motorhome parks, but you are officially allowed to wild camp so long as you're not there for too long. And they do monitor it.
Now, talking about wildfires and all the things like that, I mean, I suppose this is a little bit controversial, really, but at 99, he's coming up to 99, Sir David Attenborough salutes Earth's most important place, the sea. Now, I've watched a lot of his programmes on television, and I think they're very interesting, and they're very well made from a film aspect, in the sense that they've, you know, a lot of these things for sort of 3 or 4 minutes of filming take months and months and months and a lot of luck.
I think there's high production values.
Yeah. But the only thing is that I'm wondering, I'm getting a little bit tired of, not the shows, because I love watching the nature programs and that, and I think they've, the filming and everything is fantastic. But I do get a little bit cheesed off, I think is the word, really, when Sir David keeps on about the fact that, that we're ruining our own planet, we're killing the planet. And
he doesn't consider that when he's flying here, there and everywhere, does he?
Well,
actually, I don't think he does, because he's not on the ground for these shows anymore.
Is he not?
He does all the commentary from a studio. He's too old and frail to be able to go out and about. So they decide what's going to be filmed, but everything he does is done in the studio.
Okay.
Yes.
But isn't he right to point out the thing that seems to be blatantly obvious to anybody with half a brain, that actually we're going through a period of climate change, which is caused by man to a great extent? Not to say that there isn't natural climate change, but we can definitely define it now. We've got scientific, rock off, solid proof.
Well, it depends who you talk to.
Alan, that's a load of rubbish.
Many scientists disagree.
Well, who disagrees?
There's a guy called, I can't remember his name.
Eric from the pub. No, Eric down the pub.
Blomberg, who's a Danish.
Well, isn't there some certain president of the United States who seems to think that climate change doesn't exist? Well, I think we all know that climate change exists.
Surely it exists.
I can't believe that anybody is still, in this day and age, a climate change denier.
Listen, hang on a minute.
Hang on. Didn't say denier, did we?
Hang on a minute. Let's get one thing straight.
Well, either it has been affected by man's activities or it's not.
Alan, will you just let me make a statement, please? Thank you. Because the thing is, nobody's going to argue that there isn't climate change. Yeah. Because, yes, there is climate change. But climate change has happened for millions and millions of years. It hasn't just started in 1921 or 1984 or anything like that.
I said, Mike, I said, of course there's climate change, but I'm talking about the climate change which has been accelerated by man's activities on the planet.
Yeah, but not to the extent that we're being sold it.
Now we're saying, yes, it is, but it's like...
no, didn't say it. Who said it isn't?
Mike.
No, he didn't.
I didn't.
Oh, so
he didn't deny it's happening, but what is not happening is I think we've been manipulated by the likes of Miliband to ridiculous lengths to bankrupt people and the country for his manic ideas. As you said rightly earlier on, we need a mix of everything, including fossil fuels. Yeah, and I don't think the evidence is there to suggest that the world is on its last, vitally on its last legs.
Nor do I.
Some people are trying to suggest, and these same people are making lots of money out of it.
I think it's political scaremongering.
Indeed it is. I think so.
And I mean, do you think the dinosaurs, all those millions of years ago, went all running around talking to each other, going, oh, blimey, there's going to be eruptions and we're going to all get killed and everything else like that?
Yeah, they didn't know about asteroids, did they?
Chris, you're very quiet on this. Can't get a word in edgeways.
I know. I think Alan's in good form this morning,
I just think that, it's blatantly obvious to anybody.
You listen to Robbie.
I was actually the other night.
Oh, there we go. The rules now.
But it's blatantly obvious to everybody that there is a certain amount of man's activities that is having an adverse effect on the planet, including climate change, but also including the amount of plastics that are in the ocean and other good stuff.
Yeah, well, that's another story, isn't it?
Well, I think that's something that David Attenborough is talking about.
They're talking about salmon there, aren't they? Salmon that are taking drugs out of the water and being hyperactive and taking risks. I don't know how they're taking risks.
Well, I don't know either. I don't know what it's like to be a risky salmon. Perhaps it's swimming up a river backwards or something. But David Attenborough is making some very, very realistic and very sane points. And I think you're giving him a hard time is wrong.
Who's giving him a hard time?
Mike.
No, I'm not giving him a hard time. I'm just saying I'm getting.
You're sick to death and fed up with him.
I think you're misreading the situation, Alan.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing now is this is like Donald Trump's tariffs, right? I'm going to impose all these tariffs, and then somebody says, "Well, actually, you talked a load of rubbish." Well, I'll actually change my mind and put it on the back burner for 90 days. I'm seeing backpedaling going on now.
Hang on.
Look, Mike, stop backpedaling. Just say, "Look, I'm sorry, Alan, I was wrong."
I think, Alan, you want to go to bed, mate, and wake up and get out of bed the right side, because, the thing is, if you listen to all these scaremongering things that are coming about, we're all going to be dead. We know we're never going to see the end of this century because climate change is going to kill us all.
Well, I don't think any of us will see the end of the century anyway.
Oh, no.
I don't think I'll see the end of the century anyway. But nobody's actually said that the human race, it'll be a self-inflicted wound if we are, and that'll be as a result of a nuclear holocaust.
Yeah, but haven't they been saying this for donkey's years, way before our time? In the 1800s, they were saying about man is polluting the planet and it's the end is nigh, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
They've been saying this forever.
I remember back in the 60s, there used to be pictures of like the United Kingdom with people falling off the edge because of overpopulation. That was the big scaremongering thing. And then all of a sudden they went, oh, actually, we got a real problem with population because we're not having enough babies.
Yeah, but you cannot deny, surely, Alan, that we're being duped to a large extent by these people.
I don't deny that at all. I think the likes of Miliband are extremists on the other side of the fence. And
it's time they got rid of him.
And I couldn't agree with you more.
I think he's an absolute total menace.
But I also believe...
all those old boys that used to walk around Hyde Park Corner with
the end of the world is nigh. I was just going to say that. Yeah, yeah.
Well, they were wrong, weren't they?
They used to do it outside football matches, didn't they? Cup games, if the end is nigh, don't bank on extra time.
Yeah.
If they'd been walking around Hyde Park Corner with a plaque saying "Talk to me," that would have been all right, though, wouldn't it?
Yes. Because you can walk around Hyde Park Corner because there is a thing called Speaker's Corner.
Yeah, Speaker's Corner. You could say what you like, couldn't you?
Yeah. Although saying that, people have been arrested there, haven't they?
People have been arrested there because you can say anything you like unless you're inciting violence.
Well, there's plenty of doing that and get away with it. Yeah, but that only works one way, doesn't it?
You've got to prove it first.
But if that woman
should favour certain colours, doesn't it?
If that woman got fined £20,000, stood up in Hyde Park Corner and spouted off her opinions about, abortion and the like, she'd have been perfectly entitled to do it, and I'd have no problem.
Alan, she wasn't shouting off her opinions about abortion. She was holding up a sign which said,
I said if she wanted to.
I'm here to talk if you want to.
Yeah, right, Lord, you've got your earplugs in as well.
Hang on.
He's taking his pill this morning. He's got his earplugs in.
Hang on. You're
suffering from antisocial behaviour, Mr. Barry.
You're coming up with dribble all the time now. You want to get your bib on, mate.
I mean, in my opinion, yes, she did wrong. She broke the law for what it was. But to fine us, to charge her 20,000 quid is a nonsense.
Of course it is.
More especially when you see the rape gangs, the amount of money in legal aid they're getting. One gang of 6 people in Rotherham, they spent £68,000 on their legal defence. And what defence do they really have?
That's brought us nicely onto the situation that exists up there, because what is these local authorities are all Labour controlled, aren't they?
Indeed they are.
Does that tell you anything?
Yes, a lot.
Does that say something?
Yeah.
What does it say?
Cover-ups. It says cover-ups. No heads will roll.
Yeah.
Nobody will be taken to task and held responsible. Which brings you to a copper that was in Bradford, doesn't it? That we started to mention earlier, who was told if he investigated these gangs, he himself would be arrested.
Yeah.
That says a lot. Why aren't all these chief constables' heads rolling? And this is why Labour doesn't want an inquiry. Where's this £5 million going to go? Nowhere.
No. I agree with you. I think this is absolutely wrong, and I think it's a cover-up, and I think it's a cover-up based on the fact that there are ethnic minorities involved in the whole process, and everybody sort of, didn't want to be called racist, but actually they weren't racist. They were worse than racist. They were people that allowed rapists to get away, which I think is worse than being a racist, to be honest.
I think you're absolutely right. It was nothing to do with being racist, was it? They committed crimes, the most horrendous crimes.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, 3 girls were murdered by them. 1 girl was blinded deliberately.
I've heard some of the testimonies of some of the victims, and it is appalling what happened to them.
I know.
And I think that, okay, so some of them, six men have been. Is it 6 men that have gone to prison, or 12? I can't remember now.
Well, isn't it funny that the people that were outside that migrant hotel protesting was it in Rotherham? No, after the Southport riots, they got more and more protesters got arrested than the criminals.
Yep.
I think both should be arrested, because I think both behaviours are outrageous. If you're protesting outside a hotel, that's one thing. If you're actually smashing it up, which they were doing,
I absolutely agree with you. I think nobody would disagree with that. But it doesn't work that way, does it? It doesn't work that way. They're being covered, and police are involved with these things as well. There was one of the sort of leading people in social services was one of the gang. Well, how could that happen? And he's still working for the council.
I think this situation of these girls in the north, I think it's hiding, covering up a very dark part of our existence.
It's the biggest scandal ever.
I think it is, and I mean, while there's a great deal of focus on that, these things are happening all around the country, including Milton Keynes.
It's got to be.
Yeah, they are, without a doubt.
Well, they're happening all the way around the world, aren't they? I mean, let's face it. It's not just a UK problem.
Well, you're right.
The world over. It's probably happening in Portugal as well.
You're right.
Yeah,
but
it probably is.
But not, it's happened a lot in Sweden. It's happened a lot in Germany.
But over here, because of the Portuguese legal rules, you very rarely get to hear about it.
Yeah.
It's almost after someone's been convicted that you hear about the problems in the first place.
But Jess Phillips's speech in Parliament was a disgrace. And what's her name? Lamb. What was her name? I've forgotten. Jackie Lamb, was it? Who got up and spoke against her. She was brilliant. I thought she was very brave to do so as well. But they got to do something about it. But
they won't.
Cover up after cover up after cover up, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then
it makes you wonder what sort of country you live in. I mean, I'm not proud of our country any longer. You can't be, can you?
Can't be, no.
Well, I'm proud of that. It's got a lot of faults, but I still love it.
Well, we still love it, but it should be better. It shouldn't be like this. I mean, where's it going to win?
It should be better.
If these tykes are allowed to get away with this,
I mean,
where's it going to lead? What's next?
That's why the report could do better.
Isn't it enough to say that the Prime Minister was the ex-head of public prosecutions?
Well, he keeps telling us so.
Which is why he got his sir, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He got his knighthood.
I do wonder how good he was. I don't think he was good at all, to be perfectly frank, but that's my opinion.
Well, he was a figurehead, wasn't he? But
I wasn't even aware of him at the time.
No, who was?
No. But
and he's supposed to be, human rights, but he only protects human rights in certain circumstances and in certain types of people, doesn't he?
Yeah. But we can't upset now the ethnic majorities in this country.
Well, it's becoming that.
I was going to say the ethnic minorities, but it's not. It's the majorities,
We're the silent majority now because we're not allowed to speak out.
That's right.
If you speak out, they don't like it, you're inside.
Yep.
What sort of country have we become all of a sudden? And this goes back to Tony Blair because he brought in this rule of law business, didn't he? That to give the judiciary extraordinary rights, really, to do what they want, basically.
Well, I think the judiciary want sorting out at any rate, because, I mean, as they say, the law is an ass. And I mean, I think that's a very true statement, but the fact that magistrates and judges and that, they have their hands tied in a lot of cases because they can only, they can only issue up to certain limitations of, imprisonment and things like that. It's a load of old codswallop. I mean, if a judge finds somebody guilty, I mean, and again, we've spoken about this before, about, this life imprisonment. It's not life imprisonment. Life imprisonment is 14 years.
Yeah. And
on good behaviour, you're out after 7 or 8 on a tag, on a parole thing. So
there's an extension of that. What about this legal firm that are now wanting Hamas to be removed from the terrorist list in this country? I mean, what sort of people are doing this? I mean, how much influence have these terrorist groups got in this country?
It comes back to free speech. We do have free speech in this nation, and if somebody wants to do that,
we don't.
Where do you get the idea we have free speech? Because we have.
Yeah, we don't have it.
We have to a degree, but
giving me an example of where we do have it.
Yeah, but then we can then be taken off the streets if
are you saying that they
like.
shouldn't be allowed to have that opinion?
It's not an opinion, Alan.
Well, their opinion is that Hamas should be taken off the terrorist list. That's their opinion, and they want to argue the case in court. They're perfectly entitled to. Whether they should win or not, that's a whole different ballgame. I hope they don't win. I hope they fail miserably. But they're allowed to do it, and that's what free speech is. That's what a freedom is, and that's why we've got freedom in this country. We're allowed to do these things. We don't agree with.
No. Certain groups have got freedom of speech, others haven't, and that is the danger.
I think
we're falling into a very dangerous situation in this country, and I don't think it can be reversed.
You're losing the idea of what free speech is.
Well, what do you think it is, Mike? Give me an example of what you think free speech is.
Right, free speech is that you should be allowed to stand up and say to anybody whatever you like. And that's just putting it in a nutshell.
It's an opinion. If they don't like it, they don't like it. You know, they can argue against it.
Yeah, that's exactly
so
right.
that's what this law firm are doing. They're standing up and they're saying we think Hamas should come off the terrorist list, and that's what they're saying. So they're entitled to say it.
Well, it's got nothing to do with them, is it? It's the fact that are they Hamas members themselves?
We're talking about two different things as well, because that is a legal firm taking an issue to court.
Yeah.
Free speech is we're not allowed to. I mean, the classic case happened last week or the week before, wasn't it? When the bloke put on social media about his kids' school teachers or something. What happens? They get arrested and banged up for hours.
You're getting arrested for giving a genuine criticism of somebody because they haven't done their job properly.
Yeah, and I think that's an abuse of power, and I think that they were perfectly entitled to make that opinion, and having them arrested was absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, but you're saying they got free speech. Well, they clearly haven't, have they? Because they're arrested for it.
They have, in the sense that they were cleared as soon as it all became clear what it was all about.
They were cleared after spending 7 hours in a police cell, separated from each other.
And I think they should be compensated for that as well.
Well, doubtful they will be, is it?
Oh, it's very doubtful, but I think they should be.
So do I. I think they should take the police to the cleaners, but then you've got to have bags and bags of money to do that, haven't you? Because they won't get legal aid like the rape gangs.
That's the biggest lack of freedom of speech in this country, as far as I'm concerned, that the recourse to the law is so expensive for anybody that's got an argument they want to bring forward. You've got to have very, very deep pockets to be able to do that.
Yeah, well, they were going to change all that 10, 15 years ago, weren't they? But they never did.
Well, we did have legal aid at one point, but that's almost impossible to get.
Well, it depends who you are, doesn't it? What social group you are.
Well, there is that, and I agree. That's
if you're not British born or British citizen, you're not likely to get it. But if you come from another country, you will get it. Like, you get all the benefits.
But this has happened throughout the history of mankind, hasn't it? Because in the olden days, if you were caught up by the local squire and things like that, if you knew the people, if you were friendly with the people who were friendly with him, then you get away with it. You get off with it. These things, a lot of the things that we try and pontificate about nowadays, we're thinking that they've only just happened in 2020 or 2017 or that sort of thing. They're not. They've been going on ever since Adam and Eve. Because Adam and Eve had a big row for a start about it.
Yeah, but it's very different now. They try to cover it up, don't they? They try to say, no, it's not happening. It's your imagination or whatever. Yeah. Or it's fake news. And
they've always covered it up. They've always covered it. Everything's been covered.
I have to agree with Mike. It's always been the case.
You're very quiet, Chris. You can't get a word in, can you?
No.
Go on, let's see your opinions.
No, it's I don't know. There's too much. There's too much cover-ups going on, and I don't know what to believe these days. Sometimes,
Chris, you summed it up. Really, that is the problem. We don't know what to believe because, Terry was right yesterday in that conversation we had with him, and that he trundles through all of the news broadcasts and all the rest of it, takes note of what they said, and then contemplates it, and then makes his own mind up.
Exactly why.
And, that's a very sensible thing to do.
But isn't that what we all do on this show as well? We make our own mind up, and based on the information that we have.
We try to, but sometimes, you get somebody like Alan stirring it all up, with his...
Would I do a thing like that?
With his wokeism and that, Now, look, changing the subject just a little tiny bit, because I know that Alan loves these sort of things, because he'll put a picture up in a minute for breakfast. But, it was the study that launched countless health campaigns and put many of us off bacon. In 2013, researchers concluded that eating processed meats such as ham, bacon and sausages greatly increased the risk of an early death. The University of Zurich report published in the British Medical Council Medicine Journal, analysed the data of nearly 450,000 Europeans, many in the UK. The result found that those who ate large amounts of processed meat were 44% more likely to die prematurely. It also increased the risk of deaths from heart disease by 72% and cancer by 11%. 2 years later, a World Health Organization study backed these findings, further linking the risk of bowel cancer. However, the Zurich study has proved controversial since its publication. Many critics said that people's other bad habits, such as smoking and drinking, make it difficult to know what role meat plays in the development of cancer.
Exactly.
Others criticised how the data was presented. As the study found, 0.4% of the patients, now 0.4%, so that's hardly anything, is it, who were surveyed, died each year, the same as 4.6 people in 1,000. And the 44% spike in risk only raised annual deaths to around 5 people in 1,000. So really, it makes a bit of a nonsense, doesn't it?
Well, all I'm going to say to that is if a regular full English breakfast is going to lead to me having an early death, then I will have died happy. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly my point. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, Chris. Well said. And how do you know you're going to die early anyway? You don't, do you?
You don't. I've had bowel cancer. I survived.
I know. Yeah.
You can ask Mike Barry because he knows everything.
But what's that caused by eating?
I'm sure he can predict what day
processed meats. Chris, did you eat a lot of processed meats?
Who knows?
Exactly.
They don't know.
They come up with these surveys and these opinions to make money at the end of the day, don't they?
I think so. I think that
you get funding and all this sort of stuff.
In all my years on this planet, there's been, so many things have been bad for you. There's nothing left to eat.
Indeed. Well, it's like tablets you take. And 1 minute, last week, for example, there was about statins, wasn't it? Statins are, they're really bad for us. They've got all these side effects, blah, blah, blah. And then the next breath, it's, if you take statins, you're less likely to get Alzheimer's.
Yeah. The only consistent thing that seems to run through everything related to food is sugar intake. Our sugar intake is too high. And that is the major cause of obesity. It's not fats; it's sugar. Sugar is the thing that we as human beings seem to have an overwhelming desire to eat, and it really isn't very good for us in the quantities that we eat it. And that's really consistent.
Well, that's today, but probably next week they'll probably find a reason to say the opposite.
Yeah, Alan does talk a load of rubbish, it just makes me laugh because it's not sugar, it's salt.
Yeah.
Too much salt is what's killing us, not sugar.
Is it?
Yeah, salt and sugar.
I love my salt, so I'll carry on dying happy. Thank you very much.
I think you're fine in terms of weight gain. It's sugar that's the issue, not salt.
We're not talking about weight gain.
We're talking about weight. We're talking about healthy lifestyles, and actually, most people are unhealthy as a result of their excessive weight.
All right, put the question.
Most people are unhealthy because they're alive.
Put the question then, Alan, to that lovely lady: that is too much sugar or too much? Which is worse, too much sugar or too much salt?
I'll ask the question: too much sugar or too much salt?
You won't ask her name.
Both excessive sugar and salt intake can negate impact and negatively impact health.
There you are.
Sugar may have a stronger effect on the blood pressure and cardiovascular risk than salt. According to some research, while both contribute to various health issues, moderate use is the key to both. So they're basically saying that sugar is worse. That's just on the AI overview. Or should I say, as they say in America, the American...
A1.
A1.
Yeah.
You couldn't make that up, could you? They had it on the telly and they go, A1, and then they went, and A1, and A1, and they just kept blasting it over and over again. It was very funny. She looked a real dick.
Well, you're talking about that, but sorry, dudes, but the kids in America are going bonkers for the English slang. They now even call lines cues.
Yeah, I'm with that.
I mean, it seems now that teenagers in the USA are going bonkers for the British slang. Researchers say that the popularity of the UK TV shows, such as Love Island and Adolescence, among Gen Zs, has seen an explosion in the use of casual British English. They revealed that bonkers is now the fastest growing slang word in the US, with Q, wokey, wonky, bloke, and cheeky followed closely behind.
Yeah. So lots of American parents are perplexed by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a bit like we had parents that were perplexed by our use of sort of I don't know, like the sort of West Indian patter.
Oh, grief, yeah.
Hey man, I come down here, no.
I know.
13-year-old white boys that are nowhere near the West Indies, all talking with this West Indian accent.
Ridiculous, isn't it?
Well, kids impersonate, don't they?
Yeah.
Does my memory serve me correctly? Well, it always does, I know that. But in France, several years ago, one of the presidents there banned the use of the English words like le weekend and things like that, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, and la footy.
The what?
Footy. The English word for going out for a walk.
Footy? Oh, no. I thought you were talking about football.
No, footy.
Footing. First footing.
Footy.
Footy, that's football.
Yeah, the French started using the word footy for a walk.
Well, I've never heard that.
I've never heard it. I've heard of it for football.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right, moving swiftly on. Sometimes, when you read things in the national newspapers, you don't pay a lot of attention to them, really. But sometimes I think that we should, because there was an article in one of the national newspapers this week that said what you need in emergency supply pack.
Oh, yeah.
A 72-hour survival kit would help both families in Russia if Russia sabotaged Britain's energy pipelines, causing power blackouts. It says you need
a charger.
Non-perishable food like baked beans. You need bottles of water. You need a torch. You need identity documents like your passport and ID card and that. You need a first aid kit in the box. You need a battery-powered radio. And you need a Swiss Army knife.
You also need a charger, it said, didn't it?
Well, I've got all of those things, actually.
Yeah, I've got a Swiss Army knife sitting here. Look, here's my Swiss Army knife.
Yeah. Well, I've got a baby one, actually, on a keyring,
Yeah, I've got one of those as well.
Yeah, but
I've got about 17 things on it. I bought it in France years ago.
It's funny how you read these things and you don't really pay a lot of attention to them, but one of these days, all of a sudden, the lights will go out in Britain and we'll say, oh, I mean, I note that
we think, couldn't it?
I note that they only talk about a 72-hour emergency pack.
Yeah.
They don't say anything about candles and things like that, so you've got to have a battery-powered radio. That's all right, till the batteries run out. You've got
what's the good of a battery-powered radio if you've got a radio station can't broadcast?
Exactly. And you've got a torch, and the torch batteries run out.
Most of that is what I carry around in the back of my car anyway.
Don't want to know what you carry
along with the first aid kit. I've got a blanket in there. I've got an emergency blanket in there.
What sounds like a rape kit?
I've got a flashlight in there. It says with extra batteries.
You go prowling at night with all that, do you? Because
I think it's just an old habit from when I used to spend lots of time driving up and down the motorways on the, when I was on the road.
Yes, we know.
I did get stranded once or twice.
Yeah. When she said no.
That's the nice thing about riding around in a camper. You've got it all on board anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got illegals on board as well if you're not careful. But they go in your bicycle rack at the back, don't they? You get fined for it.
Well, yeah, but
you check your bicycle.
I haven't got any bicycles. I haven't got any bicycle covers.
I quite admire those Americans that have decided that they're going to sold up their home and they now live on the road in mobile vehicles, mobile homes, and They're usually fairly substantial, but they travel around America and they just don't have a house anymore.
Well, they're bigger than my house.
They're recreational vehicles.
Yeah, they've got tiny wheels, haven't they? Tiny wheels in Winnebago. The size of the vehicle, they've got small wheels. Have you not read Steinbeck's Travels with Charlie? Because he goes on the road to retrace his youth with his dog. Charlie's the dog, a poodle that farts all the time. And he goes, it's a very good book to read, actually. It's a classic, really.
I'll tell you what will make you smile, Chris. I was taking my mobile home, my camper van, across to France. And from Shoreham, I did that crossing. And we pulled up at the security check thing there, and Mr. Plod comes wandering out with Group 4 security plastered all over him, And he asked me a couple of questions, and then he says to me, have you got any knives on board?
Oh, no.
I said, well, actually, I have, yes, to cut the bread and butter the bread. Oh, yeah, well, that's all right, then.
Yeah.
I mean, there were four of us in the truck. I mean, we just fell about laughing. I mean, it was so funny.
For the same reason, I've probably got some absolutely lethal knives in mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cutting meat and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the bacon that I do like to cook when I'm in my camper van.
There's nothing better than the smell of bacon in the open air, is there?
Exactly.
When we crossed from Turkey into Greece, we got the 3rd degree years ago in 72. Have you got anything like drugs? Have you got anything? Yeah, of course we have. Yeah, you got all these, and they searched the vehicle.
These days, they also always stop you to check to make sure that your gas cylinders are disconnected.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. And you have to prove it. Every single camper van gets stopped to check that the gas is disconnected.
Really?
Yeah.
What I could understand one time going out.
That's on the tunnel. I assume it's the same on ferries as well.
Oh yes,
yeah. Going out to the tunnel one, they check all the door handles for some reason on the car. I don't know why.
Well, in case they're open and an illegal immigrant can sneak in, I suppose.
Oh, where have you gone? We've gone. Can you still hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you.
I can hear you. I can see you as well.
I can't.
Not a pretty sight.
I've gone back into the openings.
I was watching Simon Reeves on television the other day, and he was coming across from North Africa to Spain on the ferry, and he was saying about how the customs there will often take a vehicle to pieces almost because they've got such a clever way of smuggling the illegals across that they'll take out the dashboard, for instance. They'll take out all the stuff behind the dashboard, and people will hide in that space there.
Good God.
I mean, there's tiny spaces and that,
Yeah.
But it just shows how desperate it is that people do it. Terry's saying recommended 2 weeks. Recommended 2 weeks emergency pack in Germany, including candles. So there we go.
I would have thought a 2-week pack was more sensible.
Yeah, so would I.
My connection just dropped out for some reason.
Yeah, you did disappear.
Yeah, back now.
But you're back now.
Yeah.
Is he back now?
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Oh, no, never mind. That's not the song, is it?
There was a song, actually. Welcome back. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about...
I thought it was Welcome Home. Welcome home.
From confronting violent attackers to dealing with drug-related crime, police officers face any number of life-threatening situations. But it seems that Scotland Yard has identified one more. You'll never guess what that is. It's PowerPoint presentations. The force has issued guidance banning loud noises during presentations in case they trigger a heart attack. It says that loud noises can cause an unsuspecting reader with heart problems to suffer an attack, adding images that spin or flash or animations can increase the possibility of sufferers of epilepsy.
Yeah, migraine too.
Must not be used. The 34-page document was drawn up by Metbats, the Metropolitan Police Briefing and Tasking System for officers, supervisors, and response teams. Nanny state, gentlemen?
Load of nonsense, if you ask me.
Absolutely, but
ridiculous.
34-page document. Now, that's taken quite a lot of time, energy, and proofreading and all the rest of it to put all that together. Just to say that, I mean, when you watch national television, they will often say that the following report contains flashing images.
Yeah.
And
correct.
Knowing somebody that does suffer from epilepsy, they are very pleased to get those warnings up, because they then switch the television off or look away or whatever, But policemen, I mean, police shouldn't suffer from epilepsy. If they do, they should be sidelined and taken off the frontline duties. But and the same with heart attacks and that, I mean, heavens above. Don't put the blues on, don't put the siren on, Fred, because that might give me a heart attack.
Mm.
And don't put the blue lights on either, because if I get out of the car and see the blue lights flashing in front of me, I'll get...
We're back to the weekly issue, Mike, common sense.
Well, we haven't got common sense, have we?
Well, I think we have.
We have here on the Grumpies.
Those in power that haven't.
We have here on the Grumpies. And incidentally, if you missed any of the Grumpies, then you can, of the show, you can always tune in to YouTube, because the show is actually recorded on YouTube. So you can watch it anytime you like. Now, the ministers have scrapped a Tory-initiated review into the woke culture in the armed forces, despite claims that diversity policies have contributed to a serious shortage of trained officers. Now that's interesting, isn't it?
We've got more illegal migrants in this country than we have armed forces.
Yep.
And it's also worrying, isn't it?
I'm thinking about becoming an illegal immigrant, you get
a lot of benefits. You'd be better off than you would on your state pension.
You would, wouldn't you?
You get housing, 5-star accommodation or 4-star accommodation. You get 3 meals a day.
Yep.
You get pocket money.
Yep.
You get a bicycle to use. Driving lessons in some councils.
Yeah. Doctor, dentist.
Yeah, all free.
Mm-hmm.
When can we see a dentist? They can.
Yeah.
In fact, the dentist comes to them.
Yeah. My dental supplier has written to me just yesterday. I got a letter saying that the price has gone up by £4 a month.
Yeah.
They said, it's a little increase. We've had to put it up because of the cost of this, that, and the next thing and everything else. It's just a small increase. Well, actually, I don't call 50 quid a year a small increase.
No, not when you consider every other increase we're getting.
Yeah.
What is that in terms of percentage?
In what?
What is that in terms of percentage above what you're currently paying?
Well, I'm currently paying £76 a month, and I'm now going to pay £80 a month.
So it's about a 7% increase then?
Yeah.
Which is above the level of inflation.
Yeah. But it's only £1 a week, so that's because they're saying it's £4 a month, you see.
That's why I don't worry about petrol prices, because I always pay 20 quid.
Yeah. But the trouble is, what you don't realise is that you don't get half of what you put in last week,
Oh, it's gone down. It's cheaper now.
Well, next week, you'll get that little bit more, won't you?
Yeah. I fill my car up and I don't fill it up again for 3 months.
Well, you don't go anywhere, do you?
Why are you talking about this though? I mean, we've got this police force in Yorkshire that are not recruiting white people.
We talked about it already.
Yeah.
Where were you?
I was just, it just sort of pops up on my screen again. And when we're talking about diversity, how many other areas of society does that same mentality exist in?
Well, Thames Valley are doing it now as well, aren't they?
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, the RAF did it, didn't they? They weren't.
Yeah. Backfired on them as well, didn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. I mean,
again, this is they're saying, everybody's saying we don't care who comes. If you call the police, you want them to turn up. It doesn't matter what colour they are, what race they are. You want them to turn up and know what they're doing.
Couldn't agree more.
But what this is doing,
that's the most important thing.
It's causing a rift between the communities, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm. And do they not understand that a lot of ethnic groups don't want to be in the police?
This goes right the way across the board, though, doesn't it? Because, I mean, when we go and see the doctor, we don't really care whether he's pink coloured, white, black, small, short, Welsh, he's a doctor.
Well, you're hard pressed to see.
Ideally, I like the ones that can actually speak English.
Well, this is a problem.
It does help.
We're having this problem.
I think so. I think some of the doctors in Portugal speak better English than the doctors in England.
Yeah, indeed.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt.
Well,
because they have to.
That's right.
They won't become a doctor if they can't speak English.
No?
Portugal. In Portugal.
Yeah.
They have to speak English.
Good Lord.
Universal language.
Oh, yeah, and I think it should be imposed across the entire planet. Perhaps we could get some Americans to start speaking English.
Yeah. They do.
When I was hospitalised last year, anybody who had to make a decision about my medical future spoke English. Everybody. And there was a lot of them.
Mm. It's difficult here to find anybody that does.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
I don't think we've seen any English doctors, consultants, or anything.
Well, the trouble is, when we say, of course, the trouble is they speak English, but we don't understand it.
Yeah.
Well, it's heavy accented, isn't it?
Well,
when they phone you up, you've got no chance.
My biggest wind-up is call centres for banks. British banks that employ people in their call centre that can't speak English. That really irritates me. I mean, if you're going to ring up, sort of various other organisations that are not necessarily British-based, well, that's fine. But if you're ringing up a British bank or British Gas or British Electric or British whatever, you do expect somebody not in a call centre in South Africa or the Philippines or
everywhere now. Sky the same. I've had my calls cut off a couple of times because I said, I'm sorry, I can't understand you. Yeah, they're either in Bangalore or they're in Bulgaria or they're in Ireland. If you're in Ireland, it's okay. Bulgaria wasn't too bad, but India sometimes in Bangalore, and you got no chance. And they get frustrated just as much as we do.
I think all call centres should be based in Sunderland.
Oh, God, yeah.
I just like the Geordie accent. I find it to understand, and I think it's really...
in that case, they should be based in Newcastle. Don't ever tell someone from Sunderland that they're Geordies. they'll absolutely floor you.
Oh, well...
They're Mackhams in Sunderland.
I like the Geordie accent in general. I like the Sunderland and...
I would agree with you. I do like the Geordie accent.
Yeah, I don't like the Birmingham accent.
I don't like the Liverpool. I can't stand the Liverpool.
Well, that's Northern Irish, isn't it? I don't like the Northern Irish accent. The Southern Irish accent's good, but not the Northern Irish.
No, I like the Southern Irish. There's a lot of call centres in Dublin now, and they're lovely to speak to.
Yeah, I spoke to them in Dublin.
So maybe swiftly on, because we haven't got a lot of time left on this morning's programme, but did you know that half of the sick notes are handed out without patients actually ever even seeing a doctor?
Yeah.
Apparently it takes 2 minutes to sign a sick note. I don't know why 2 minutes, and 20 minutes to explain to someone why they shouldn't have a sick note. It says a nurse, but because the GP answers back, because there's no way for us to say the patient is lying, we tend to veer on what they want. A lot of GPs don't want to get complaints for saying no fit note, for not saying no to fit note requests. And the nurses or the GPs come back. If somebody comes and says that they're very, very stressed and they want some time off work, I don't really question that. And some colleagues use fit notes just to get people out of the door. There are people who are cheating the system when it comes to fit notes.
Fit notes?
It's costing... Yeah, well, you get a fit note. Now you're fit for work or not fit for work, You
get a note for that now, do you?
Yeah. It's a good system if you need it, but it's open to those people to abuse. It's that patients, I know people who will take advantage of it. Well, in all of my working life, which has been quite, about 3 weeks and 2 days and 4 hours, I've never had a sick note.
Really?
No. I never had a sick note. I wouldn't know how to go about it.
Don't you have to pay for them now?
I don't know. And even if you have to pay for it, it's quite easy to phone up the doctor because you want a week off work. Say I'm stressed.
Well, finally, I find something I can concur with, Mike. I've never had a sick note either.
Well, I think this day and age, I think you can self-certify for a week, can't you?
Well, you
don't even have to see. You don't have to see a doctor.
Well, I don't think it's a week. I think it's 3 days. Actually,
it's 2 days, isn't it? No, I think it is a week, Mike. Now
I don't know.
I think they increased it. It used to be 3 days. I'm sure they increased it.
Self-certification.
How can you get a sick note in that time? Because you can't get to see a doctor.
Well, but you can phone up, and there's a lot of times you phone up, and they'll come back to you.
Well, they do email you a sick note now, do
they? Probably.
Yeah.
In the UK, you can typically self-certify for sickness absence lasting up to 7 calendar days, including weekends. If you're off work for more than 7 days, you'll need a fit note from a doctor or healthcare professional.
There we are. Thank you for that.
A fit note surely means you're okay to go to work, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, no, a fit note could also say that you're not fit.
Oh, right. Okay. Is that what it's called now? Right.
Yeah, it's not a sick note anymore. It's a fit note.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a fit note. I'm not fit to go to work,
I actually think they changed the rules on that after COVID because people couldn't get to see doctors during COVID. So they changed the rules and left them in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, gentlemen, we have mentioned this quite a few times, this A1 and AI and all the rest of it. But did you know that Labour has got plots to delay the artificial intelligence copyright law for up to 4 more years, while tech firms carry on burgling creatives?
Really?
Well, we all know, don't we, what AI, artificial intelligence, is doing. I mean, it's taking pictures of well-known people like the Grumpies On Spec, and it's voice-overing words that they're saying and then putting it out and things like that. And that people are not getting their due credit for it. Or their financial rewards.
I think the main one that is very difficult to implement is that anything that's written online is accessible to an AI bot to go around and read it. So any book that's published, regardless of subject, whether it be on art, science, or just a fictional novel, AI can read it and then use that information to construct its answer. And I don't know how you police that.
No. You don't know how
accurate it is
either, do you?
A friend of mine wrote a book in Dutch using AI. He is Dutch, and he wrote it in Dutch. And then he asked me to proofread it, the English translation, which was also done by AI. And it was just impossible to do it. It was
really?
So you got an AI-written book that was then translated using AI, and it was just unreadable, completely unreadable.
Double Dutch.
Yeah, double Dutch. Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
double Dutch. Yeah, that's
AI.
That's the point, isn't it? Yeah.
AI, Captain. AI.
Right. Listen, talking about AI and all the rest of it and everything else. We've got to say goodbye because time has come. It's dead for us to say goodbye. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Well, we don't really hope you've enjoyed the show at all. We couldn't care.
We couldn't give a damn.
We couldn't give a monkeys. But if you missed any of it, go to YouTube because it has been recorded on YouTube and you can listen to it at your content during the daytime. Or if you look on
don't say that,
on our webpage, you'll see when the show is repeated. But in the meantime, from me, Mike Barry, and from him and him and him, Chris, you have a nice time. We'll see you in a month's time.
Will do. Look forward to it.
We'll see you soon, So, and it's really now time to sort of press the button and say bye-bye. We'll see you next week.
Join me, Rosemarie, and my special guests for my show, Extra Time with Rosemarie, on Sundays at 1 p.m. Each week, a guest and I will discuss their passion, whether they've just become a published writer, an entrepreneur, or supporting a meaningful charity. Our goal is to challenge others to follow their dreams. So listen to Extra Time with Rosemarie on Sundays at 1 p.m. here on Spectrum On Air, the colorful voice of radio.